Hello everyone, my name is Randy Swikle and I'm here today to talk to you about the business side of student publications. My understanding is that most of you folks plan to teach journalism and advise student publications in high school. And I hope that today we can serve as a catalyst to get you to thinking about some different issues as you begin your teaching careers. What we're going to be covering today is the primary business of advising student publications and putting out a yearbook in a newspaper. The promotion of the publication. What are some good ideas to promote the publication and to get everyone to read it? Not only read it, but to anticipate it with great enthusiasm. We'll look at some circulation options. What's the best way to get the newspaper or the yearbook distributed? Printer selection. Who's going to print your publication and what are you looking for regarding your selection of a printer? The business staff. What are the responsibilities of the business staff and how do you integrate that throughout your whole journalism program throughout the whole year? And financing publications. That's always a big issue. If you're putting out a newspaper, are you going to distribute it free of charge, or are you going to have students subscribe to it with a set fee? And finally, community resources. How can you use the resources of your community to enhance the job that you do in teaching students about the media and having a lot of fun at the same time? Now, I'm going to ask you a question if I may. You walk into class, it's your first day, and the yearbook staff says, how many pages are we going to have? And you says, gee, how much money do we have? How much color are we going to have this year? And you're thinking, color's expensive. How much money are we going to raise? In your staff, are you going to expect the business manager and the advertising manager to do all the fundraising, or is the whole staff going to have to engage in soliciting advertising for your paper?
I think the whole staff would have to work together to do that.
Why?
Because it's a team effort.
Team effort.
Yes.
But if my specialty is being a photographer, why do I have to go out and solicit ads? If I'm the best writer on the staff, why don't I use my time doing that instead of having to go out and get ads?
Well, they all need to work together to raise money, because if they don't have the money, then their stuff isn't going to get put in the book.
Thank you. You've defined the approach that I'm taking in this presentation today. It's a holistic approach. And what I mean by that is we can't segregate the business side of scholastic journalism. It's part of the big picture. The business side of scholastic journalism affects the promotion of your publication. If you don't promote your publication and you don't have anyone subscribing to it or reading it, then the advertisers are not going to be very happy. The circulation options, the printer selection, all of these aspects, enter into have a revenue dimension to them. If we look at the primary business of scholastic journalism, the business side, we have to remember that the most important job is to produce a quality publication, because without that, you're not going to be very successful in the revenue side of your publication. We want a free and responsible press. Why is that important to the revenue that comes in? Would you like to comment on that? Why is it important to have a free and responsible student press from the business side?
I think that if you don't have a free and responsible press, then your paper's going to end up being kind of dull and no one's going to want to read it. And that's not going to bring in any readers.
All right. Who's going to want to subscribe to it, pay money, or even read a free copy? And what effect will that have on the people who advertise? Obviously, it's going to have a very negative effect. The editorial priorities of a publication are important. what happens if in your yearbook you show all the pictures of kids drinking Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola is your biggest advertiser? Now think about that.
Coca-Cola probably wouldn't be very happy, or Pepsi-Cola wouldn't be very happy with you advertising Coca-Cola for free.
Okay, but that's what they're doing now in television, right?
Yeah.
I mean, advertisers pay to have one of the actors drinking a Coca-Cola. Are you going to use that policy in the yearbook? Are you going to say, we'll show lots of pictures of the kids drinking Coca-Cola if you'll give us so much money for advertising it in this subliminal way? Or will that ethically be a violation of what you ought to do?
I think that'd probably be a violation of what you're supposed to be doing.
To stage the kids drinking Coca-Cola.
Yeah, that's not a very good thing to be doing, I don't think.
All right. There's lots of issues that you're going to see arise. On the spur of the moment here, what are you going to do when these kids come in today and they're saying, oh, the teacher's going to tell me that I got to raise $300 in advertising? How are you going to make that exciting for them? They're walking in, brainstorming, the spur of the moment. What would you suggest?
Well, from some of the examples that I've done in high school, we did car washes, and I mean, because when you're little, you sell candy for everything, and that's boring. Like no one wants to do that anymore. So, to get the whole community involved, you could probably do that, and maybe other classes in other schools.
Or a pet wash. See, I'm
Right.
tagging on as we brainstorm. What are we going to do to make fundraising fun and exciting? Thank you. And initiative, reward initiative. When students do more than what is expected, give them recognition. You know, if you say $300 your goal and you go out and some kid earns $800, how are you going to reward that initiative? What's one thing that you do?
I'd probably
Look, I just
don't
got
know.
$800. Other than say, oh, that's nice. What are you going to do?
maybe some extra credit, or sometimes we would do parties and stuff to celebrate.
All right. You can reward them with some extra credit. That's extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is when you praise them for that and make them feel good within.
And I guess also we would, I was in a publications class where all they did was sell ads for a newspaper and yearbook, and the advisor would, like 1 month in November, he would give the top 3 sellers like $50, $100, $150. So that's also some motivation.
All right. Very good. What would you do if I said you have $86,400 grant that we're giving you, but you have to decide how you're going to use that in your journalism program in one day. Some quick decisions to make, but the deadline is at the end of the day. How are you going to spend that money?
I think it would depend how much money we already had from advertising and everything else to make sure, we got out as many papers.
What's something you want right away, though?
Technology.
Technology, okay. Why do you think we came up with $86,400? Anyone? That's how many seconds there are in a day. It's not only how you use the money, it's how you manage the time. And you're going to see, especially with the yearbook, we put out a weekly newspaper, and we still had kids that would be sitting around twirling their thumbs. With a yearbook, you're not going to have constant daily deadlines. So how are you going to use your time, on the yearbook staff? Well, I'll tell you something. With the advertising, if a student is done with the picture taking and they've written copy for whatever they're covering, with the advertising, you can always go to the phone and try and get someone to sign in, take out an ad. Or you can take time and send a letter to your advertisers and tell them, give them an update on the progress of your publication. They'll say, my golly, we got a letter from such and such high school here, and they're informing us that thank you for the ad, and we're excited, we've been working on things, and just an update. It might be a Christmas card that you send out to advertisers with your staff picture on, and with a little note, maybe you'd like to post this in the window showing that you support student publications. Teammates count on each other, and always be a team. The advertising part is not the most fun, always. It can be a lot of fun. And sometimes you need to get a shot in the arm and bring everyone in. And if someone's standing outside the team, instead of yelling at that person, maybe there's a reason for that they're not participating. So instead of yelling at them, do something that positive to bring them back into the team. Too often we're saying, Freddie's not doing his job. Advisor threatened him with a low grade, blah, blah, blah. Well, who knows why Freddie is not doing a good job? Find out why. And then bring him in when you see what needs to be done. Why do we need to promote? It builds the prestige of the publication. We had these three editors went to a White House news briefing. It was the day the Monica Lewinsky-Linda Tripp tapes were released. We were in Washington at the Journalism Education Association, National Scholastic Press Association convention. So I called the White House and arranged for some of the students to go there. It was a big news day. Joe Lockhart, President Clinton's press secretary, came out and he answered questions about the Monica Lewinsky-Linda Tripp tapes. After that press conference, only 3 reporters were allowed to have an exclusive interview with Lockhart in his office, which is just a few steps away from the Oval Office. And those 3 reporters were from the Johnsburg Weekly News, and they talked with him for about 20 or 30 minutes about a variety of issues. Doing a professional job, it adds prestige, lifts the staff morale when you promote your public. I work for that yearbook. I work for that newspaper. They're proud of it. Assists recruitment of staff. We've promoted our publications in a variety of ways. In such a successful way that we get many students who want to join. When they come over from the junior high, they want to join the newspaper staff or the yearbook staff because they see it's fun and they're going to get recognition in doing that. It attracts advertisers when you promote your publication. Hey, this is a yearbook read by a lot of people. 80% of the school subscribes to it. Not only that, we notice that the yearbook is on display in the reception offices at doctors and places where people sit waiting for their appointment. They can pick up the yearbook and thumb through it, and they can see our ads too. If you got a great reputation, partly through the promotion of your product, it gives you a little bit of power to do what you want to do. The publicity. We often will call the community newspaper about some of the things that we're covering, some of the activities that we're doing. When on another occasion, we had 2 students at the White House when Congress was voting on NAFTA that night. And Bill Clinton was going to address the nation live. We had the students were allowed to go to the grand foyer, stand with the president's staff about 8 feet away from him while he addressed the nation live. Those students then went to the telephone and they called their community newspaper and they gave their eyewitness report of what had happened. You want to not only recruit good photographers for the yearbook, you want to recruit good writers, good people with the business, with the advertising. Have the advisor and the current staff contact students that you want to be part of your program. Take that initiative. Go out there and say, hey, we're having a great time in yearbook, or on the newspaper staff, and we need some more people to share in that. The junior high journalism assembly and teach-in we had every couple of years, where the high school students would go to the junior high and they do all kinds of games at an assembly. riding bicycles and throwing newspapers at targets, and just a variety of things. It was great fun and made your presence known among the junior high kids. Advertiser strategies, individualized business contacts and contracts. One day we had a kid in class saying, Mr. Swikle, I've been to 10 businesses yesterday and I didn't get one. Not one signed up. I said, did you talk in terms of their interest? Did you just go and say, hey, I'm from Johnsburg High School and I'd like to sell you an ad. Will you buy the ad? Well, what's in it for the advertiser? Yeah, you say that, but it can't be done. I said, all right, go in the officer, give me a phone book. So you got a phone book. I said, thumb through it. And then, stop anytime you want to. So he stopped. I said, now close your eyes and go like this. And he went like that. And I said, okay, who's the business? And he said, it's Joe's Barbershop. That's not the real name, but it was a barbershop. I said, I will be right back. And I went in, I called Joe's Barbershop. 10 minutes later, I walked back. I said, okay, Joe's going to take out an ad every week in the school newspaper. And this is what's going to happen. Okay? If during the month you have gotten your haircut taken by him and yours is one of 20 names that is drawn, you'll get a free coupon for a free haircut, the next time. So kids always read Joe's Barbershop ad because there were 20 names listed. They did both men and women. So they wanted to see if they were one. And then they could go in there and if they had gone in there before, then they can go in there again and get a free haircut. Send the tear sheets, have an open house for advertisers. Those are just a few ideas to try and get advertising support. Rapport strategies, engage your readers where they become actual participants. Have something in the yearbook or the newspaper that is going to involve them. Tap community resources. Again, your community have lots of different things that you can do to expand your journalism program. Recognize who your supporters are, the ones that are doing a good job, even businesses, that constantly advertise. Show some recognition. If you're the yearbook, take out an ad in the student paper and say, we want to commend these advertisers who, for the last 20 years, have put an ad in every issue of the yearbook. The clout strategies, the breakfast with administrators we have every September, where we get the school officials together and we build rapport with them. Presence at school board meetings. And I'm not talking just about the student newspaper, I'm talking about the yearbook too, because you're covering the school year and telling the story of the school year. Know what the issues are. The adult booster group, you can form your own group of parents and be self-supporting from a financial standpoint. With circulation, choosing time and place. Most of this has to do with the paper, the newspaper. The rule is that school administrators determine the time and place for distribution, but they have to be reasonable. Do you want to send out morning, lunchtime, afternoon, homeroom, classroom, locker vents, distribution stands? Do you charge? Do you give them the paper free? With the yearbook, how are you going to hand out the yearbook? Are you going to have a big assembly and launch it from there? Are you going to, each lunch hour, you're going to come up and to the mic and say, okay, in 1 minute we're going to be opening, up and handing out the yearbooks, if you do it during lunch hour. What's going to be the way that's going to, get the biggest hurrah? You want to really have an enthusiastic launch of your publications. Okay, outside school, there's mail distributions, internet web page, the businesses, the public buildings, after-school functions, different ways that you can hand your publications out. With our school paper is distributed free of charge, and we earn the money through advertising and other promotions. The complementary policy, all the newspapers are given free, but with the yearbook, what can you afford to do? You make a lot of profit, then you can give out more complimentary copies. Which school administrators are going to get a free yearbook, if any? What's going to be your policy selling them to teachers and staff? Do they get a discount? What about school board members who, really donate their time and effort? It'd be a nice gift maybe to give them a free yearbook. Some of the jobs: the business manager supervises and represents the business interests of your publication, keeps the editors aware of financial status, recommends policies and budget, is responsible for the bookkeeping and the bills. That person will be supervised by the editor and advisor, of course. Advertising manager coordinates with business manager, advisor, prepares ads, assigns ads to the pages, copy reads ads before and after the publication. By that, I think what I'm trying to say here is they copy read and proofread, the advertisements. The advertising manager prepares ads, assigns ads to the pages, and there's strategy about where you place ads. It's usually not a real good idea to have a full-page ad for Dairy Queen right next to a full-page ad for Creamy Cone that are competing against one another. The advertising manager monitors the advertising staff and the ad accounts, conducts advertising campaigns, and with those advertising campaigns, they can be a lot of fun. And just as the professional media have special campaigns during special times of the year, your student newspapers at Christmas time may have special campaigns. The yearbook can have special campaigns for the different sections. Sources of revenue. Advertising is a natural source. Subscriptions. We like to give the paper away free of charge. Advertisers like that because everyone is going to be able to read their paper, not just the subscribers. The activity fees, that you're aware of that, where the school simply says so much of the money that the students pay a registration for activity will go to your publication, and to have fundraisers. And if you're having fundraisers, try to make them relevant to your publication. With the yearbook, a good fundraiser would be to set up a booth and take pictures during homecoming dance. And they don't have to be the formal ones, they could be candid ones of kids dancing. Then you make some 5x7s and you sell them to them. Don't depend upon a school budget for success. Try and earn the money beyond that. Reserve funds for unexpected contingencies. When you set up the budget, have some money for that. Setting advertising rates. Figure out what that is going to be. Budget objectives. That gives you the foresight to look ahead and how much money do you anticipate, how is it going to be spent. Yearbooks don't have to go to just students. Again, they're a nice thing to pick up when you're waiting to see the doctor. Yearbooks have a wider range in the marketplace than a lot of business staffs really consider. And, so think about that. Some of the things that we've done with our paper, we'd have contests in the newspapers, and we give prizes for those. All you have to do is go to the local merchants, and they'll donate prizes. Most of them will, free of charge. And then you can thank them, in another column in the paper or something for their services. We've had pizza parties where the whole staff gets together for lunch and they taste test pizzas from 10 pizza establishments in the community. And they fill out a form in which they evaluate the texture of the pizza and the crustiness. It's great fun for them. It's good publicity, especially for the pizza parlor that wins, and the kids get free pizza from it. Yearbooks and newspapers report the contemporary world beyond the school walls. What are the movies that are out this year? a reporter shouldn't have to pay to critique a movie, so talk to the manager of that movie and they'll give you free tickets. There are just so many resources out there. Use your imagination, brainstorm. You can get a lot of free activities. I'll tell you that even some of the industry folks in the community will donate old computers for your journalism program. Just let the need be known. What we've tried to do today is to take a holistic approach with the business side of scholastic journalism, to integrate the idea that the revenue aspects, the revenue focus of our work in scholastic journalism is an integral part of the editorial content, of the personnel issues with the staff, of the design and the aesthetic qualities, of your publication. If you don't have good content on the editorial pages, people aren't going to read the paper, and the advertisers are going to be frustrated and withdraw their ads because they're not getting the readership they want. And so I've tried to show you, some ideas, some ways to improve advertising by improving these other aspects of your publication, and to get your students to be enthusiastic about things by infusing innovative ideas and activities into the daily work of your publication staff to make it a fun time for everyone. And as great advertiser Leo Burnett said, make things simple. Make it simple. Make it memorable. Make it inviting to look at. Make it fun to read. Do this with your student publication staffs, and you'll have a very successful year. So thank you very much.